Hello, everyone, and welcome. Today we have a special panel to talk about one of our core values of our school, which is international mindedness and bilingual education and preparing our students for this globalized world. My name is Davis Poutin. I am the head of Pueri Domus Verbo Divino campus, and I've got a very special panel here with us and different participants who will be having this conversation really with our special guest. Well, first of all, let me introduce our main panel and then our special guest. So we have Cynthia Yamashita with us, IB coordinator from Acclimação campus. Hello, Cynthia.
Hello, Davis. How are you?
Hello. We have Cindy Obi, so IB coordinator from Verbo Divino campus. Hello, Cindy. Welcome.
Hi, Davis. Hello, Davis.
Hello.
It's a pleasure to be here.
We also have John Whittlesey, IB coordinator from Fair Jesus campus. Hello, John.
Hi, Davis. Hi, Aldo.
Hi. We also have Ricardo Lourenço, from IB coordinator from Itaim campus.
Hello, Davis. Hi, everybody.
Hello. And we also have Felipe Assefi, Year 12 student from Verbo Divino campus. Hello, Felipe.
Hello, y'all. Thank you for having me.
And last but not least, we have our special guest, Aldo. Hello, Aldo. Welcome.
Hey to everyone. I'm very excited to be with all of you here right now.
That's great. Well, let me introduce Aldo. Aldo Angelis Tapia, hope I pronounced it correctly, is the IB World Schools Manager for private schools in the Americas, including most of the schools in Brazil. And as an IB manager, he's in charge of assisting schools in the implementation of quality IB education at the ground level by navigating and questioning with heads of schools, IB coordinators, and teachers what an IB education looks like in different contexts. So some of the activities that Aldo does are accompanying schools through that process of program evaluation and the self-study, getting acquainted and understanding in more depth the textures of the 2020 IB program standards and practices, talking about specific aspects of the implementation of programs, and sharing and bouncing ideas and questions with schools. So lots of hats, right, Aldo? Aldo is also a former PYP, Primary Years Program Coordinator, consultant, and team leader in school evaluation visits. So once again, thank you for being here with us, Aldo, and sharing your experience about the IB, and so we can tell more about the IB and the program and the vision that the organization has for all the students. So let me start with a basic question, okay? For those who have not heard about the IB before, what is the International Baccalaureate Organization? Where does that come from?
Well, thanks for that presentation, and I'm really glad, as I said before, to be with all of you sharing ideas about the IB. And I think it's a great question. What the IB, right? So the IB, it's a foundation. The International Baccalaureate Organization. It's a foundation originally based in Switzerland. Still, one of the offices is there, but now there are many offices around the world. I am currently even though I'm in my house right now, I do dispatch from Washington, D.C. There's an office for the Americas over there. There's another office in Singapore, another office in The Hague, one in Cardiff, and we have different small offices around the world also with different representatives. So the IB, it's, as I said, this organization, this foundation that started in the 1960s, 1968, 1970. There's still like a debate of which school started or not. And the whole idea was for this organization, when it started, it was a group of schools, private schools in Europe, a couple in the Americas, to try to create what it was called like international high school passport. It was for people that was families that were moving around the world, mainly diplomats, but also people, that were displaced by the war. The war just passed 20 years, in the 1949, it finished, and still there were a lot of displaced people moving around the world. So these organization, these 12 schools started to organize in order to offer a quality curriculum to the families, to the students, with a mission that was different to other schools, right? As I said, like a couple of wars passed, and what we wanted was to, at that point in the organization, it's still the mission that drives the whole foundation. It's to create a better world, a more peaceful world, where children, at that moment, it was just the high school students, where they could leave a curriculum that fostered strong academic skills and contents, but also a curriculum that would drive an idea of peace and creating a better world, a critical world where our students could be better leaders. So that's the story more or less in the 68, 70. The first program from the IB was the diploma program, targeting students in high school. And then eventually it started to grow. With schools, we started to realize that also we wanted to share this mission, not just with high school students, but also in the middle school years. And in the 1990s, I think it was 1994 when the middle years program started. So this is the middle school program, same mission, trying to foster young leaders, critical thinkers that could have a better world, a more peaceful world, and a very structured program from 3 to 5 years. And then the primary years program, which it was founded in 1997. That's for the preschool and elementary years. And then our most recent program that started in 2012, I believe so, and the career-related program. So that's, like the macro picture of the organization and where it's based and part of its mission. Yeah.
That's great. So schools, worldwide who have the same vision or have a very similar vision, with the IB, they adopt one or two or more programs that the IB offers. Okay, it's great.
Yeah, definitely. Like schools can choose one of the different programs, or the 4 of them, 3 of them. It's, and I guess like we have great stakeholders here, who are the ones that make the mission live in the schools, through the curriculum.
Hello, Aldo.
Hey, Ricardo.
Hello. Aldo, you talked about the context of the creation of the IBO, and nowadays we have several challenges in the 20th century, and as an educator and as a coordinator, we always think about who and how we are delivering our kids at the end of the basic, so at the cycle of education. So to what extent or how does IB Vision still is relevant to promote skills for our students in the 21st century? How do you see that nowadays?
Yeah, I do think that an IB education, all its programs, it's relevant for the 21st century. Of course, it was for the 20th century and for the 21st century, in terms of how the IB moves beyond just the traditional academics, right? I do think that we have seen in the last couple of decades, and all of you who are in schools are seeing the progression of professions, right? How things have moved not just from knowing or having very good numeracy and literacy skills, but also to be a good collaborator, to be someone that knows how to conduct research, independent research and collaborative research. Also how to be a good communicator, right? Like with Twitter and LinkedIn and Facebook, and just having influencers, it's amazing to see how young minds, young kids are really influencing the world in social movements. And the IB, it's promoting all that, in the communication skills, the research skills, social skills, how to be, as I said, an independent worker, but at the same time, knowing like, okay, sometimes I have to collaborate, and how can I do this? And also, how can I manage my time? And again, I go into like, I guess all of us have been enjoying, but also victims of the web, and how to manage our time. And I guess like Felipe can talk about that, like how can you study for an exam, but at the same time be a good communicator and knowing about what's happening globally. The IB has these motto from the beginning of like, think globally, act locally, right? So we want to, I think that's one of the biggest skills that the IB in all its programs is trying to promote with their students. So these are, and of course, like within all these, I can go into the textures, how like the IB program, again, the IB programs, and I don't want to talk about the diploma or the PYP or the MYP, but like all of them provide different opportunities to our students and our teachers, our leadership team to, to become good writers, good readers. Those are skills that are still needed, but also how to synthesize the information and be creative and, come up with something new. Also how to conduct research, not just in traditional disciplines as biology or chemistry, but how can we be social scientists, right? How can we start to think about social movements, and how can these be, why do they repeat in our country or in the world, et cetera, et cetera. So I do think that all these skills, and the textures of each one of these skills, like big skills, communication skills, research skills, social skills, self-management skills, are relevant for the 21st century and have been relevant, I would argue, during, for centuries, like throughout history. We see how nations that have been strong throughout time have had great researchers, have been strong because their leaders have collaborated, have developed great science movements because like they foster inquiry and they promote spaces, ideological and implementational spaces to think, and the IB is just taking these best practices and trying to have this partnership with schools for you to promote them, right? To promote all these skills in the 21st century, and hopefully and we're a learning organization, so maybe there might be new skills, and Felipe will be the one bringing them up, and he will teach us about them.
Although you're absolutely right, and it's very important to say to our students as well, and to the parents, how important are these skills that we're developing in here at school, in all the IB schools, in fact. So I would like you to talk a little bit, because my students, they are asking me, why should I need to do IB, So in what ways does an IB student academically stand out from those who have not attended an IB school, Aldo? Because, my students, they really ask me all the time.
That's a great question on behalf of your students, and I think on behalf of parents too, because many of them register their children. They're deciding about their future in a way, and even as a teacher, I would think like, oh, why would I like to teach in an IB school, right? Also, like, why would I like to be a leader in an IB school? And I think and well, in my screen I'm seeing you, Felipe, but you can tell me if I'm wrong, but I do think that besides the rigor in academic, right? Like that rigor, like that you have in a traditional school, probably. I think the plus from an IB education is that we are also we're seeing the persona as an academic aspect, how we can promote empathy and compassion. How can we learn that maybe the other person who doesn't have the same opinion as mine, he, she, them are right. So those type of things, or like also having these action and community service and volunteerism, like all these aspects, I do think that those are items that are important for a student and for families to take into account, right? We're also going to be fostering, and this has been proven by, for 50 years through the IB examinations in the diploma program, that they are rigorous, they are recognized by the best universities in the world and each country, that they are very well prepared in academics, but also it's bringing that humanity to the student again. And I do think that's a plus, and that's why we want to promote that type of personas in the world. I do think that's something that it's very relevant for our students to believe in, to have teachers that also, and that's why I talked about not just the students, right, but also like questioning yourself, like, why do I want to be an IB teacher? It's like, do I want to teach about compassion and empathy and like the struggles in my community and learn about them and how can I help? Like all those type of things are, I think, very important for someone to leave when they are young, and also when you're teaching.
I would say
that
a lot of things that we believe in, Aldo. I think it's something I'd like to take back to Davis's introduction when he talked about international mindedness. I remember when I first heard this phrase, probably like 15, 20 years ago, and it was like the guy was an IB workshop leader, and it was just like, it's not flags, it's not food, and it's not fairs. So maybe you could help by telling us what it is to you, or what it is to the IB, and how is that embodied within, and relates to the IB mission and the programs.
Yeah, I that's one of the, I think, most common questions, right? When also schools are starting, like, okay, so it's an international program, but it's not about flags and festivities, so it's international mindedness, and I think you just reminded me the confusion that I had also when they started to share with me what was that. And international mindedness, it's a concept that captures many social processes. So one of them is we want to promote international mindedness would encapsulate intercultural awareness. We want our students to have intercultural awareness. This means not just about the cultures in other parts of the world, other so-called nation states, but within my own country, within my own locality, right? The cultures that exist within my community. So to be interculturally aware, that's to be, or that means that we're promoting international mindedness. Another aspect of international mindedness is the value and respect for different languages, multilingualism. Like not just seeing languages as a capital, not just I'm gonna learn English, French, and Spanish because they are gonna open the world in terms of jobs. That's an economic reality, but also they're gonna open me my mind into different ideas, about how people think and how they construct meaning. And it's not just about those 3 official languages which are part of the IB, but we want to promote as many languages and multilingualism, Portuguese and Putonghua in China, Farsi, like Japanese, Korean, and those are big languages, but also small languages, Navajo in the States, Quechua. So we want our students to value, languages. That's part of international mindedness. So intercultural awareness, respect to multilingualism, and also global engagement. That would be the other aspect or characteristic of international mindedness, to be aware of what's happening globally and how global phenomena are also affecting our schools, our families, our community. So to think in an international minded way, it's to be interculturally aware about what's happening outside and inside my country, my community, to be aware of the different languages that exist around the world, and also like how they frame my world and how can I collaborate through different languages, and also this global engagement, how I can impact the world through small actions. A way, and again, it's very conceptual still. So one of the ways in which the IB has tried to ground these concept has been through the learner profile, through what it has been called the IB learner profile, which is like a set of characteristics and responsibilities that we want to promote in the student. So these ones, I don't know, I can talk more about them if you want me. I don't know if someone, but it's like, how can we promote through our curriculum to be caring? How can we promote through our curriculum to be like our students are knowledgeable, or that they understand a balance between their physical work and also mental work and also their emotional well-being. So all these, and there are 10 attributes in this learner profile, and these are ways in which students can land also an understanding of international mindedness. So that's international mindedness is a big thing in the IB. Hopefully it was clear enough in a way.
Yes, you are. I hope it was clear to me, and I hope our viewers and listeners will understand how important intercultural awareness is, as well as intracultural awareness, and also the importance of shifting multilingualism from being a capitalistic intention, but still there are still some students or families that struggle with the relevance of the IB, even though they have no intention of leaving their local community to study in an international forum, or leaving their local community to go maybe some other states or other places. So how do we bring that relevance to them? Thank you for mentioning the IB learners profile, but if you could break it down to us too, so that they can see the relevance of the IB in people who have no intention of leaving Brazil or leaving even the state of São Paulo or even anything international.
Right. I do think, and let me bring back the whole idea of international mindedness. And what John was mentioning about when he started to be immersed in the IB world, right? How international mindedness is a thing, but it's not internationalism. International mindedness can be lived without you leaving your community, without you leaving your school, right? To be, as you said, interculturally aware and also intraculturally aware. To respect the different, for example, in Brazil, it's one of the countries that has more indigenous languages in the world. How can we start to respect and value languages in Brazil, just like we're respecting other international so-called languages, right? So you don't have to leave Brazil to leave like the idea of multilingualism. You don't have to leave Brazil to leave the idea of intercultural awareness. And also, Brazil is one of the biggest and most important economic countries in the world. You're setting an agenda, in the world. So you're globally engaged all the time. We all know what's happening in the Amazonas. We all know, unfortunately, the situation with the pandemic, the politics that exist historically. You have been, you're a force in the world. So people are, and let's just talk about sports, like all these type of things, like you're really setting an agenda globally. So you don't have to leave Brazil to live in an international minded way. But still, and I'm trying to connect it to some of the things that I mentioned before, like also having these research skills, knowing how to work with other people from either other states within Brazil, and also learning how to work individually, setting your own pace, knowing how to be a critical reader of the newspaper, a critical reader of a book, knowing how to write an essay with rigor, and like not just words because of words, but like really having an argument. Like an IB education in all its programs, it's trying to promote these rigor in academics still, at the same time that it's nurturing the humane part, So I do think it's relevant even for people that are not moving beyond Sao Paulo, however, or Brazil overall. But if some of these families or students are moving beyond their borders, it's also super useful because it's a program that it's recognized. throughout the world. 159 countries as of today recognize in different universities and in different schools at least one of their IB programs. So and like big university, if we want to talk about like these top 10 universities in the world, but Stanford and Harvard, Columbia, like these universities in the US, they recognize those type of diplomas. So I would say the IB and IB diploma in this case, it's worthy for students that are planning to stay in their own country, just because of the skills, the setup skills that they would have, the 21st century skills that Ricardo was mentioning, but also like if they want to move and collaborate with other people, throughout in others, I don't know, in Venezuela or Japan, or so. Yeah, I think that's why it's worthy even for students and families who plan to stay within their country.
Also, I think increasingly more and more universities in Brazil, they're beginning to review their admissions policy and criteria. So they are recognizing the IB diploma as one of the entrances, one of the ways to get into university, because they recognize that these students, they come with very specific, skills, as you've just mentioned, and something that we try and instill in the students is, to be globally minded. You have an impact, like you said, Brazil and São Paulo, and we're very glad that we live in a very multicultural city. We have a wealth of people from different countries speaking different languages. There is a big movement recently, of recognizing and valuing refugees who are coming to São Paulo, and such a wealth of opportunities as well. So anyway, it's a great opportunity.
Awesome. And Aldo, as an IB student, something that is constantly mentioned is the IB learner profile, as you did earlier. So can you expand a little bit on what impact does it have on the students' academic journey, as well as in their life, more broadly speaking?
Yeah, definitely. That's the IB learner profile. I have a lot of endearment for it for two reasons. As you mentioned at the beginning, Davis, I was a PYP coordinator. That's my specialty, to work with the little ones. That's my battle. When they're 5 years old, I'm a little bit scared. But when they're 3 to 6, I'm good. No, but it's the learner profile. It's something that comes from the PYP. We started to see how, in order to land an understanding of international mindedness, it was necessary to have these profile, these are 10 attributes, Felipe, to your question. These are 10 attributes that allow students to, and not just students, but the whole community, like the teachers, also the leaders within a school, and hopefully the families, to understand how we have responsibilities as IB students. And these responsibilities as IB students, it's to be a caring person, to be knowledgeable, right? So, like whatever we read or whatever we watch, whatever we listen, it's like, how can we be critical with that knowledge that it's presented to us? To be critical thinkers, to be also, risk takers. We want in the IB that our students, and again, when I talk about students, I want to mention teachers and leaders and families, like to be risk takers in terms of like, hey, just to question something, like, I don't understand that. That's taking a risk for many of us. And for many students, just like raising our hand, sometimes it's like you're taking a lot of energy. But also like to be a risk taker in terms of like, oh, I want to try something new. I want to challenge myself. To be balanced, as I mentioned before, to have to see the importance of my being healthy physically and emotionally, and also cognitively. So the IB learner profile is these, I always see it as this I used to explain it to my early childhood students, this portfolio of like really cool things that I want to be all the time. I want to be caring. I want to be knowledgeable. I want to be, like risk-taker. I want to be balanced. I want to be an inquirer. I really want to ask myself about things. I want to be, a communicator. I really want to communicate, and I remember, telling to my students, like, hey, you're going to be a communicator, and can you be a risk-taker while you're a communicator? Can you communicate without drawing it? Maybe just, like with students that had like sometimes that challenge of like, oh, I don't want to say it verbally. Like, oh, why if you're a risk-taker and a communicator? So these were ways of like also telling students like, you can, like this is your portfolio of being a cool person throughout the world, and to be international minded, to understand other cultures. You can be a risk-taker by speaking another language. So that's kind of like how I see, Felipe, the IB learner profile. And just to tell you like a little bit of the history, it started as the IB learner, the profile for the IB student. I think that was the name back in the day. So we were just thinking about the student, like we want to promote these with the students. And then through different discussions, it was like, well, we also want our teachers to leave this learner profile. So it's going to be the profile for, like the school community. And then you're like, well, but also like parents are part of the school community and also our leaders. So it eventually became the IB learner profile for the community, right? The IB community learner profile, because we want all our families to live through this profile. And of course, the students are the ones that are our liaison, right, between what's happening in the school and what's happening in the house. So that's kind of the history of the IB learner profile. And I'm sure like all of you who have expertise in the IB, you can also have examples at your own grade levels, of how you leave the IB learner profile and how it looks like. But, like now that you were asking me, Felipe, I was wondering also like, how are you leaving the IB, as a student, as a person who's, and also like during these very particular times, what has the IB brought to your life? I don't know.
Yeah, sure. So being an IB student really requires this constant development of the learner profile characteristics that you mentioned right now, because it is indeed a very rigorous program. However, I do think that the IB enables students to not only delve into the academic world, but also the outside world that it has been debating here. So as brought up, the IB instigate this global set of thinking that basically prepares everyone individual to future opportunities as not a student, but as a citizen. So I like to think of the IB experience as a moment in my life where I was often challenged and also pushed to give my best and really try to further my education, but also my personal traits with the IB learner profile characteristics. So like for instance, CAS is a core subject in the IB, and it basically requires students to develop experiences and projects in 3 areas, that is creativity, activity, and service. But the thing is that CAS is like much more than just an IB subject. The whole journey needs commitment to not only yourself, but also the community you live in. So that phrase of act locally, and you have the opportunity to create such experiences while also developing personal skills and really feeling that you're making a difference in your local community. So it really enables you to take part in projects, give life to ideas, and also to expose yourself to new perspectives that will basically instigate your self-growth. And I have studied at Pueri for over 10 years right now, and I know that since early stages, we were always immersed into the volunteering and community services world. So like, I strongly believe that the overall school culture positively affected the way I built my CAS experience and my CAS journey. So yeah, I consider myself someone that is engaged with extracurricular activities, and this was highly influenced by not only the school, but mostly by the IB, that provided me with such strong foundations to seek this whole community engagement and empathy and compassion movement. So yeah, the IB basically for me, it transcends the usual high school curriculum that we have, and it innovates education for not only the students, but also the whole community, as you mentioned, teachers and parents and the whole school community. And yeah, like the broad range of subjects, the intensity of coursework and content is all, of course, something that is remarkable about the diploma. But I now know that I'm more prepared for my future life, and that all the hard work and dedication will be paid off for my future life, either as an academic or as a citizen. And that is exactly because the IB and the whole program, course, and structure molded me into the person that I am today, living the diploma. I think it's basically about this. Like, it's a different structure of education that brings this international mindedness that we are not used to.
That's amazing, Felipe. Thanks for answering that. It's very it warms my heart, truly. I wanna cry, but like it really, I do believe that if people like you and in the school like are thinking like that, like things are gonna be better. I think all of us here are educators. I don't know which one will be your path in history or economics or sports, but like thinking like that and how you're gonna be treating people and seeing people, that gives us a lot of hope. It's amazing. Congratulations for that. And I'm sure, as you said, like it's very rigorous academically, and of course there are days that are like, oh, what am I doing? But it's great to listen to you. It's truly amazing. It's truly amazing.
Yeah, I think hope is a word that really defines the IB like experience and what you'll live with them.
Great. Well, on that note, I think we could spend hours and hours talking about the IB, but I think we're coming to the end of our podcast, of this episode. Well, first of all, I would like to thank everyone on the panel. Cynthia, John, Felipe, obviously, Ricardo, Cindy, and Aldo, for your time, for sharing your experiences with the IB, different perspectives. And the idea is obviously to make sure that everyone knows about the benefits of the program. It is rigorous, obviously, it's demanding, but at the same time, you grow so much. And we can see Felipe is representing here, a portion of our students, but we can see the growth and we can see how they mature over time. And that's what we want. By the end of the day, by the end of high school, we want all these students to be better citizens and help to create a better world, which is the IB's mission. Well, thank you very much to all of you who are listening to this podcast, who are watching this video later on our YouTube channel. Please stay tuned. We have many more episodes being recorded, being published very, very soon. And if you like this episode, make sure you share it, you promote it, and talk about it to your friends and those who you care. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.